A very warm welcome to Joburg Today. I'm your host, Riley Sakwe, bringing you the 411 on what's happening on your local streets of the city of gold. Yesterday, the economic freedom fighters announced that they will be in no coalition with either the African National Congress or the Democratic Alliance, which means that parties with a strong following, such as the DA, might just run Johannesburg, while the EFF will remain an opposition party with seats in council.
With all the rumors with possible coalition with the ANC and the DA, the EFF held a press briefing yesterday in Suetla in Alexander to set the record straight.
There's no one who met our condition. That's why we are not ranging in any cooperation. So don't say the cooperation is forever or what. There's no cooperation. We vote with DA in Parliament, Ranjit. You never called it a cooperation. We voted with them on motion of no confidence against Zuma. Why was that not called a cooperation? So we're voting again with them today, like we did before in Parliament. And they are voting on issues. On issues. It has never been a cooperation. So on this issue, we agree with them. We are saying, let the EFF not assume power through some method which is not a popular mandate. The EFF must get into power through a popular mandate. When we don't have a popular mandate, we know our place. Our place is the opposition. If other parties are more than willing to take over even without a popular mandate, we are there to support them.
With all that said, it looks like the public are happy about the EFF not being in coalition with the ANC.
They've took a very decisive stance on not going into a coalition on the same bed with the ANC. Because us as the voters, as the supporters, the followers of the EFF, we substantially believe that going back to the ANC and in a way of a coalition will be indirectly going back to the ANC through a back door, and that will be the disappointment to the voters. Because, I mean, the voters have spoken, they have rejected the ANC, and for the EFF to take the stand in the coalition of the ANC, automatically the voters are going to be disappointed. Come 2019, I mean, the EFF was going to be the history. So I support the decision of the collective leadership of the EFF, 100% I'm behind them. In remaining on the opposition benches.
No, it's not a betrayal, because in South Africa we believe in togetherness. Understand? As Madiba said, they said togetherness is very much important, because there's no white and black, so we have to be in one.
The decision that the CCT as a collective going to take will have side effect, but the decision that they took is a very best decision, because they're all the same. There's no better one, but the better ANC is worse than DA. Because we know the disease of ANC. Hey, we have never worked with DA, but we have worked with ANC. ANC is having a disease. We can't go to the bed with the ANC while we know that there's a disease. It's the same like that one. We know the disease is there, and then the corruption, everything is there, and then we can't go again with them. This one is better, even though we know that they are white minority group, but it is better than ANC.
I'm Pumashiru for Joburg Today.
That's what we're going to experience.
As always, we love hearing from you. So do yourself that favor and hit the like button on our Facebook. That's joburgtoday.tv, or simply follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. The DA has recently signed a coalition agreement with 5 opposition parties and has welcomed a supporting vote from the EFF. Nashina and the Joburg Today team were on the ground to find out a little bit more about the story and how this could possibly impact the city of Johannesburg.
A coalition agreement has been formed between the DA, the UDM, COPE, the Freedom Front Plus and the ACDP. This essentially means that the coalition partnership can move forward in the contested metros of Nelson Mandela Bay and Swane. However, the future of Johannesburg still lies in the balance.
We want to set up transparent
and open tender processes. Want to make sure that there's zero tolerance for corruption. Want to ensure that our governments will avoid irregular and fruitless expenditure. That we will always have a fit-for-purpose executive that ensures that people who govern and serve in municipalities are the best people to do so. And that we've never sought to say we are going to act in a way to purge any staff. I want to reiterate that point, because South Africans who are working in municipalities are key. They are key people who can help us deliver on the mandate that South Africans have given us, and therefore, it then becomes absolutely critical that they are the best people to be able to do that, and we always look to appoint people, not on the basis of friends or political connections, but really let's appoint the best people to deliver for people. Obviously, our views have been put here about how we feel about things like blue light brigades. And I know as a resident of Johannesburg how difficult it is when you are on the M1. But also that we must bring forward an integrated public transport and broadband to enhance opportunities for people. There are many aspects of this agreement that I could go into, but I felt it be important that we share upfront that this is an agreement that seeks to put the people of South Africa first.
During the media briefing, when questioned on what this agreement actually means for the cities, including that of Johannesburg, this was the response of DA leader Musi Maimane.
In Johannesburg, now there's a joint question here about what is the condition, etc. If our view has always been, the EFF asked us if, look, can you consider what happens with your mayoral candidate in Joburg? And we were quite clear. We asked the people of Johannesburg to vote for Herman Mashaba. And Herman Mashaba stands as our candidate. So we hold strong to that view, to say you can't ask South Africans to vote for a candidate and seek to find a view to change them. And we communicated that, and we wanted us to be clear to say, look, our party operates on particular principles. We don't issue mayorships somewhere, somehow. So the reason we've taken the stance that we have is because it's important for us to honor the relationship we have with voters.
Essentially, the immediate future regarding local governance in the city of Johannesburg still remains sketchy, but there is certainty that more details will unfold very soon. Nashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.
I'm Zondi Lengubeni and you're watching Joburg Today.
The outcome of the coalition negotiations means that the majority seat holders of the city of Johannesburg, the ANC, may not actually govern the metro. Gabrielle McKay of the Institute of Race Relations came into studio to speak with Marisa on her insights on the issue.
We will have a multi-party coalition and another party, minority party, who is not in the coalition but will most probably vote with the coalition, and then they will all have the majority votes. Is this even legal?
I think in the situation it's allowable. It's sort of within the bounds of, it has to be within the rules. I think the situation is infinitely preferable to having to go back to the polls and vote again. So I think that's really what we want to avoid. But it is a very unique situation in which you have a party that isn't actually going into coalition with the other sort of minority parties. And that, I think that's the strange thing about it, the EFF's position in all of this, that they actually haven't signed in to be in a coalition with anybody. So they haven't signed an agreement, but there is the sort of verbal understanding that they will vote against the ANC.
In terms of local governance then now, what does this scenario of no coalition but voting for the opposition and a multi-party coalition mean?
The difficulty for governance in this is that you lack a piece of paper that says we are agreeing to govern with you. It means that if I require your vote before I can get a budget passed, that the budget has to meet your requirements and it has to fulfill certain needs that you have before I can get your votes to actually get it passed. So that's a bit of an advantage for a party that wants to see certain things pass through, but it's also a disadvantage for governance in that you can drastically slow governance down.
Now, if I understand from the politicians, it is not quite clear yet who will be the mayor of Johannesburg. What do you think is going on and why do you think are we in this situation?
This is, again, we're in the very unique situation of minority governance, and I very much believe the EFF when they say that they value principle over position. So why you see that lack of an agreement to coalition, especially in Johannesburg, is because there's an ideological issue that is coming between them. What that issue might be, we can only speculate as to what that actually is. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the city of Johannesburg. It might be the case that we do see a DA member become mayor of Johannesburg, and then the EFF stay true to with smaller parties taking on deputy mayor positions, and then the EFF staying true to just deciding on who they vote for and what they agree with, and them actually having none of the major positions within the city. But it is a very interesting time, and it's difficult to say exactly what will happen because we don't know all the dynamics and we don't know what exactly the issue was that was stopping that sort of coalition agreement from happening in the city of Johannesburg.
Apparently, during these negotiations, a lot of national issues or demands that relates to national issues were put forward, and then you got some of the politicians like Julius Malema saying they will focus very much on very pragmatic service delivery issues that will come up now during the actual governance of a city like Johannesburg. What do you think will this now mean for service delivery in Johannesburg going forward?
Hopefully, if we get to a stage where you have your agreements in place with very little sort of fighting, then service delivery should actually get on the ground and we'll start to see what a smaller sort of coalition, DA-led coalition might do, or if it's the ANC that probably want to carry on as usual. But if you do end up in a position where, again, because you have these ideological differences, there are disagreements on what budget spending should go onto, you could drastically slow down service delivery, simply because you might have a party that feels you need to do more for Alexandra, for instance, and not do as much for the wealthier suburbs. So you maybe see a slowdown in refuse removal in the wealthier suburbs because you've swapped your focus to another area, or you may see less maintenance being done on the electricity grid in a wealthier area because you're spending all your money providing electricity to a small. So there has to be a balance, and I think that might be difficult to achieve, especially when smaller parties' primary focus is getting their constituents happy. So if you have the popular mandate, then you know, okay, the entire city wants us to govern, we need to make everybody happy, and you can almost rationalize, okay, this is going to take time across the board. So it's a difficult balancing act, and hopefully everybody takes the pragmatic approach to it as they said that they would, and we don't see local government getting hamstrung and slowed down too much.
And that's all the time we have for you today, but be sure to check out our playlist to see what's happening in and around your beautiful city. That's it from me, Riley Sakaniposakwe. I bid you farewell and do hope that you have a blessed day.